Experience the future of packaging and processing up close and in action. Explore groundbreaking innovations, engage with hands-on solutions, and connect with the experts transforming the industry. See how these advancements can revolutionize your products, production lines, and business. It all starts here. Don't miss out. Register today at packexpolasvegas.com/unpackedpod. You're listening to Unpacked with PMMI, where we share the latest packaging and processing industry insights, research, and innovations to help you advance your business. Hi, and welcome to Unpacked with PMMI. I'm your host, Carol Reiley. In this episode, AI expert Carol Reiley, no relation, shares actionable advice for companies looking to adopt generative AI. Reiley covers essential starting points, such as selecting the right model, managing privacy, and preparing your data. She also emphasizes the importance of starting small and leveraging accessible cloud services, especially if you're a smaller business. She discusses fostering collaboration between AI systems and employees with deep industry knowledge, focusing on upskilling your staff and enhancing data accuracy for better AI outcomes. Reiley predicts AI will reshape operations, especially in generative design and fault detection. And finally, she recommends staying updated through daily AI news sources. Let's have a listen.
So with all the fancy introductions out of the way, welcome to the podcast, Carol.
Hi.
You gave a great presentation on AI. There were some additional questions that we weren't able to get to because of time, so I'm going to follow up with some of those now. Where would a company start to create generative AI transformation? And then they followed it with, I have the data, but what platform would you suggest I use?
I think we're extremely lucky. In the past few years, we've had this accessibility of easier ways to build your own model with whatever data. The starting point is I'm glad that they have their own data. I think it also very much depends on many different factors. One is like the size of the data, the security. If you want it private, there are many different platforms to get started relatively quickly. I think you can probably have something up and running within a week. And then comes the hard, arduous part of crafting. I think the very first step would be to pick model architecture. So you can, most are transformer-based ones, or you can go with open source frameworks like TensorFlow, Hugging Face, PyTorch. Those can all be downloaded and implemented very quickly. Once you train it, then you can fine-tune it. What you'll see is open source models, they'll get you a big jump from your older data analysis. Any technique you had used previously, this will probably give you the highest percentage points you've ever gotten, the highest accuracy. But then comes the hard part. A lot of companies get stuck in like the high 80 percentile. I can't push past that. I would just get started without too much thought. Just think about the privacy issue. If you have your own data, it's been cleaned up and labeled, get started, grab a transformer architecture like GPT-3 or BERT, or an open source one, and you could plug it in.
You had mentioned during your talk that smaller and medium-sized companies often lack the resources to implement AI effectively. So how can these companies overcome, whether it's a financial or a technical barrier, to adopt AI solutions to avoid falling behind?
Yeah, that one is also a fantastic question. I feel like there's just a few key nuggets I run to, which is if you put together a data strategy, it doesn't have to be 100% AI. I think you have to carefully look at your company and assess where are you in terms of data analysis? How much does the leadership team get behind a data strategy? And what has your team done on simple metrics? So look for like the low-hanging fruit. Where has data shown any cost savings? And that's like little leads in where you can start to explore with AI. Go with cloud-based services. Those are the easiest to get started. And then you can figure out long-term. But to start with, I think it's easiest just to buy a few tokens, sign on to the Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or the Google Cloud, and just pay as you go pricing. Very minimal setup. So anything that's really easy for non-technical users could be a way to just get your team going. And then just try to upskill your current team to be able to do data analysis, simple data analysis, look at results and ask some good questions just get started without overthinking and overanalyzing or overtalking to a lot of different people. I think there's lots of different platforms that are low cost to like full service white gloves, depending on the pricing and your data size.
It seems like a running theme is just to start, to get into it, and you go from there.
You learn as you go. So I think that's the biggest insight I have, because I think AI is so revolutionary. It's just good to dive in, but start small. Don't get too crazy with trying to solve your company's biggest problem with AI from day one.
That makes sense. What are some strategies for fostering a productive partnership between AI systems and the workforce?
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for companies who have subject matter expertise. With packaging, there's a lot of little nuanced things in the way a company is run. Have respect for your cultural context and the people who are very familiar with the system. I think that's one common mistake I see, because I think you defer the knowledge to the data experts. And while they may be, it's like bringing in a genius, but they might not know all the nuances. So you really want to figure out how to really make those two cultures equal. I think data privacy and security is a huge concern for most companies. Get the company team trained and working very closely with data scientists. I think there's been huge strides from AI first companies, and that's just, it's a different type of DNA, different types of structures, software versus hardware versus DIY cultures. There's a lot of friction between these different groups. And I think this is where leadership really needs to have a heavy hand.
Yeah, communication is key there, I would think. As AI continues to automate some tasks and more tasks, how do you envision upskilling employees to then transition into roles that emphasize decision-making and creativity?
There's a bunch of free online classes through Coursera, your Udacity, Databricks, and those classes vary too on intensity. One could be like an AI for everyone class, which I think is probably 8 hours. So I think everyone in the company can watch that just to get some basic vocabulary, just to understand and be on the same page, to like very hardcore machine learning classes. I don't think everyone in the company needs to know how to build their own LLM or build their own models, but I think the AI for everyone classes would be great. I think we're now at an age where we're going to have these tools at our fingertips, and we know it's going to save time, but it's a different skill from doing it yourself to being able to manage systems. I do think being able to step away and see a bigger strategic view would be great. So I think to get every person to take some management classes, because I do think we're stepping into that age where you're putting these pieces together. It's just not doing simple steps. And whether you have robots doing it, whether you have AI doing it, I think we're about to upskill into management. And I think with management comes high level concept thinking and being able to communicate with other managers about certain problems.
Very interesting. We've talked a lot about data, and you've stressed the importance of high quality labeled data to kind of ease the AI process with everybody. What are the best practices you might have for manufacturers to improve their data collection and labeling processes? Just that way they can enhance their AI performance a little bit easier.
Ooh, I think data labeling is undervalued. Most of the time it comes, you give it as an interim project, but it becomes one of the most crucial processes, because if your data is mislabeled or inconsistent, then no matter how awesome your model is, you're never going to get there. So one is just clear labeling guidelines and having like double, triple checks. I think what you need is just a very clear labeling guidelines, making sure everything is consistent. It's not just one type of data and then you'll get 99 percentile and then you move to a wider view and you're in trouble. So I think setting up early your data strategy of testing it, checking it, running that small data set through and seeing if there's any gross errors. I think if a human can't tell, then it's going to be hard for AI to tell. I think one fallacy is maybe the AI will see patterns that humans don't see. If you can't tell this is a cat, this is not a cat, then you're going to be stuck at that like 70, 80th percentile for a long time. But lots of different things on just realizing costs, because data labeling is extremely expensive.
Good advice. With AI playing a growing role, we hear it a lot with predictive maintenance, quality assurance. How do you see AI reshaping operational efficiency, this person's asking, in the next 5 years or so, especially in areas like generative design and fault detection?
It's extremely exciting, these big projects with generative design and fault detection, I think are the two big buckets that AI can probably tackle relatively well side by side with a human. You'll probably see real-time anomaly detection. So being able to have things highlighted immediately so that a human can go and see, is that actually true? You'll have multi-sensory data, so not just cameras, but like LiDARs and all these views, double checking. I think it can also explain the reasons what is behind the fault, which would be great. An example we commonly use is in terms of emergencies. We don't like self-driving cars or planes in this human collaboration mode because it's really hard to go from just sitting in the backseat of a car and all of a sudden there's an emergency, then you have to jump up and take over. It's very jarring for a human to process what has happened if they haven't been in control. So I think what we want is the human in the driver's seat managing these AI systems, much like they are interns, where they would be like, I think this might be an error. And then the human's ultimately the one responsible. So I think just the accountability needs to be clear that it's on the humans. And then for design and optimization, I think this has clear benefits. It's very easy. There's lower risk of anything safety critical. So I think this is where humans can be extremely free and creative, and AI can supplement with ideas as a thought partner to generate things that maybe a single brain or a team of humans may not be able to come up with. It's amazing the new ideas that have been thought of with AI, whether it's on the design side, whether it's creating new tools, new music videos. I think we're at the brink of human imagination right now. It's about to be unleashed in a new way. I think that's the area that we're going to be super powered. I think we're going to see and experience cool new ideas that would have taken our human evolutionary process like tens of hundreds of years to do.
Very cool. This has been great. Is there a resource that you recommend for staying up to date with AI advances, whether it's a blog, a podcast, a website, some way so that people, since this is changing so fast, that people could stay abreast of it?
Yeah, it's funny because I used to go to NeurIPS, and it used to be a group of researchers that were 300 of us at a conference once a year. And it is just insane. Daily is barely enough. You almost need like minute to minute news. So while I think it's still great to go to conferences, I think it's still great to take online classes and read these research papers. I read TLDR for my daily new AI news. There's a few resources, but I think TechPresso and TLDR and The Batch, which is a weekly newsletter, are probably my three.
Very helpful. I've already taken more than enough of your time, so I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much, Carol, for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please rate, review, and subscribe. To do that, go to the iTunes podcast or Spotify app on your phone and search for Unpacked with PMMI.